Instagram. Happy Wednesday and welcome to this episode of the Trish Lynn Show. Today we are talking about money mindset and how money is energy. And I am so excited to bring Melissa on to this episode because, like every episode, this is such a good, juicy topic and conversation. Money mindset was one of the biggest pieces that actually helped me leave my relationship and being able to shift my relationship with money, the way I viewed money, and what is actually available to me and for me. So, super excited for this conversation. We'll wait for Melissa to come on. I'm hitting buttons of all sorts. Wait for her to be notified that we are live and come on. I'm going to send her a quick message because sometimes that does go a little faster. Because Instagram seems to be super slow at actually pushing out the episodes. So, we get to sit and wait. As you guys jump on, say hi. Let me know that you are here. Give us some hearts. Helps push us out into the algorithm. And there she is. If you guys know anyone who episodes or the episode that you know is going to resonate and someone could benefit from. Thank you. And there's Melissa. There we go.
Hi.
I know sometimes it's easier for me to just let you know that we are live. So it actually it's just it's not notifying, but here we are, and we get to have this conversation around money mindset and how money is energy. And I was just sharing, I don't know if you caught the beginning, money mindset was a lot of the work that I did before even leaving my relationship. So I'm super excited, as is for every conversation and every episode, but I'm super excited to dive into this episode today. So let everyone know who you are and what you do, and then we will get started.
Okay. Well, Melissa Middlestat. I am an accredited financial counselor and a coach, and I have been walking alongside variable income earners, getting comfortable with money for the past 4 years. And the term money mindset coach, I know some folks like that's their main role, but it's a piece of what I do. I look at mindset, systems, behaviors, because it's all part of our money story.
Yeah, it really is. And it's funny, I was thinking about it. I don't know if I actually shared this with you privately or not, but last December, so this December will be my 2-year since leaving. Last December was my 1 year, and in that time I ran a money mindset program, really diving into, so I did share it, diving into those pieces, because that is what got me out. And when I left, I was told I was going to struggle, financially, it was going to be hard, this and that, you're a single mom, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I set that intention before I left that I was not going to struggle. And it was so deeply anchored into me. And this is what prompted the program last December was I haven't struggled. Everything always finds a way to work out and come through when you are open to those possibilities of what is available to you.
Mm-hmm. Do you mind me asking what set the stage for that for you? Like, how did you know that that was going to be such an important piece to really making that decision?
Making the decision to leave was the hardest thing, because the piece of content I just shared today, I was financially dependent on him. My business was earning $0. And I knew that I had already delved into the world of personal development and learning all of these pieces, focusing on my own mindset, my own energetic capacity, everything that I knew I needed to get out. The business strategy, so when I work with my clients, like, the business strategy is such a small piece. It's all of these other pieces that are really the important focus on seeing your success. So for me leaving, I knew I'd left before, I'd come back. I'd leave, I'd go back, I'd leave, I'd go back. Like that is the narcissistic pattern that we follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that money mindset was important. And I'd been focusing on it for my business, but I hadn't actually been thinking about it for my life. Mm-hmm. And that bigger picture, because when we are so close to the problem, we don't get to see the problem. And I was so focused in this one spot that I wasn't looking at it from a bigger perspective.
Yeah.
And I knew after everyone telling me this, all of the personal development work that I had done, that, hey, this is somewhere I need to focus.
Okay. So that, having that awareness, even just having it start in your business and doing the work and the way that it actually had some serious application in your real life. Again, we both know money mindset work is extremely important. So I'm glad we get to dive deeper into the conversation today.
So I'll let you take the lead, cool. And I'll just sit back and share my experiences and share the pieces that come through.
Cool. All right. So first, I want to start with, when we think about money, oftentimes I like to frame it in the relationship that we have with money. And does it look like how we would treat our best friend? And
love this.
Okay, good. Having that frame of reference to just say, God, would I treat my best friend like that? Would I avoid my best friend? Would I have all these negative feelings toward my best friend? No, I wouldn't. And when we learn more about, law of attraction and reciprocation and all of that, it just plays into the fact that if we've got all this negative energy that we're pushing out toward money, that's just exactly what we're going to get back. Yeah. And awareness, right? That's the first piece of almost anything, is to just be aware of that. But when I work with clients, I really go through the process of, does it feel like it's on the same level as how you would treat your best friend? And if not, what does it look like to get there? What does it look like? What are those triggering moments for you? Whether that's opening your checking account, whether that's reconciling your business finances, whether that's going on a shopping spree because you're feeling upset, like whatever that looks like, but identifying, what are those pieces that give you that, yeah. And then in that moment, reminding yourself, okay, how would I treat my best friend in this situation?
So I have a question that I want to bring into this, because you said exactly how I describe working with women. Charging for our services after a toxic relationship, you don't feel worthy of charging. And this time, last summer, I was in a mastermind, and the consensus was, and a piece of building into that was, I should be having 20K months. Well, that contracted my chest so much, and I didn't realize it at the time. And it's only now that I'm able to sit and look back at all of the pieces. I'm like, oh my God, that number felt so unsafe for me. It felt so closed off, and it made my nervous system just off the wall. Yeah. So, that feeling, that's it. I love it, because that's exactly how I felt. And that's the first question when my clients are pricing their services. I ask, how does this feel to you? Because if it's a number that feels constricted, you're not going to sell.
I have so many thoughts connected to this. So first and foremost, I want to say, I don't know how your mastermind handled it or how people talked about it, but I'm on a mission to squash the whole charge your worth. I think that is detrimental to people. To even think about connecting my worth to money, that in and of itself myself is like, what am I worth? Like, I could be charging $1 billion and it still wouldn't encompass who I am as a human. So ditching that vocabulary altogether and putting a very hard line between our own worth and what we charge. Like, I think that's the number one first step, is to make sure that you've got a boundary there so you're not muddled in that quagmire of what am I worth. And then secondly, I've been this concept of a ladder of belief is what can help us get to, because somebody who's already at 10, 15K months, 20K months doesn't feel like a stretch. It isn't going to give that reaction. But if someone's trying to tell you, oh yeah, you're at 0 and 20K is just a step away, where's the ladder of belief in that? And setting, even if your first goal is I'm going to make $500, then to 2,000, then to 5, then to, but allowing yourself a space where it feels like a good stretch, like it's motivational and is exciting. But I think you're right. The second it hits that, like, then that's, you've gone too far.
Yeah. It's not attainable. You need to keep something that's attainable and feels good as you continue to build up. So that's it. It's not tying your self-worth to what you're charging. It's looking at what does your offer entail? Like, that's the biggest piece. I look at women who have been in toxic relationships, their offers, what they're putting out, and I'm like, you are not charging enough for what you are giving. It has nothing to do with what you're worth, because you are invaluable. Like, you are worth billions, but at your offer, we've got to be charging enough that makes you money and you're not just giving everything away.
Yeah. One way that I like to work with clients is sometimes to back into it. So if we look at, what does your monthly life look like? What's a comfortable monthly life look like? So if you say, I would like my business to be able to pay me $5,000 a month. Okay, well then let's add taxes on top of that. Let's talk about PTO, because we want to be able to take vacation, right? So we want to be able to save for that PTO. Let's talk about insurance. Let's talk about all these other things. And then you can land on, okay, here's the gross revenue amount that I want my income to bring in. So that way I can be able to pay myself the $5,000. And then, of course, looking at the market and understanding all of that, but then being able to price from there to know I'm not just grabbing a number out of thin air, because that's tough to do.
Yeah, exactly. We think very much alike, because that is my first question with my one-on-ones is, what do you need to bring in? Mm-hmm. And then we work at it from there. So very, very much alike.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I do business and personal finances, and to know that we obviously we have to keep them separated when it comes to bank accounts and all that good stuff, right, for tax reasons and all of that, but they're separated by this tiny little thin line. It feels like they're so separate, but in reality that connection is very tight. So
yeah,
getting to see both sides is important.
Yeah. And so I know from conversations you work with a lot of different businesses. And what's kind of one trend, I guess, that you would recognize when it comes to money? No, I'm not going to say money mindset, but money as currency, as energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, with business owners, we've got so many pieces that we're constantly juggling, that oftentimes the money piece gets put on the back burner. It's not important until tax season, or it just is a monthly thing, that I'll just look at, or maybe a bookkeeper sends me like a monthly report and then I, stuff it away. So that is really saying to your money, like, it's not that important. And energetically, and in order to keep our business running, both, money needs to come to the front. And obviously it doesn't have to be all the time, because there is an extreme on the other side, right, where we can get so money obsessed and we're checking our account every day and we're looking, and that's not healthy either. But there's got to be a middle ground where we set time aside. And whether, some people call it a money date, some people call it, financial co-working, or whatever that looks like. But just to have some time to say, okay, money, like, what's happening? What's happening in the business? Where are we? Am I meeting the goals that I want to meet? Do I want to set up stretch goals? Do I need to cut it back a little? But at least giving it some credence in the business, and not just always kicking it to the back burner.
Yeah. A lot of things, like a lot of pieces that I implemented before I left, shifting my relationship with money. We talk about the best friend. The biggest place that I started was when I went to buy something. And being grateful for tapping my card instead of fearful. I was grateful, and I would say affirmations as I'm tapping my card and step into that place of gratitude, because it's creating that relationship, that friendship, right? And that piece that is so important, because for such a long time, even, going to Winners, and I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. So going to Winners and buying something for the house was like fear, because well, what if he doesn't like it? And then he's pissed off that I bought something and I spent this amount of money on it. So it was a fear relationship that I had prior to leaving. I had to ask permission to do things, even though, we made the decision that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I had to ask permission. So changing that relationship, like, was a really important step, obviously, because one, I'm going out on my own. That's scary enough as it is, but then going out of your own, zero income coming in my business. I knew I had 6 months. I knew the strategy that I had to implement. It was all of these pieces coming together, but it started with being grateful for tapping my card, being grateful for the groceries, like all of these little pieces that build a healthier relationship.
Have you ever read the book Happy Money by Ken Honda?
I haven't, but I've heard of it. I have such a list of books to read.
Yeah, I hear that, right? The list just keeps growing, and the time to read it keeps diminishing.
Yeah. And my list became, and this is going to be a funny story for everyone who jumps on to laugh at, romantic fantasies. I got sidetracked over the summer into a series that was so good, I couldn't put it down. I've already pre-ordered the 3rd book that's not out yet.
Ooh, yeah. That's saying a lot for that book.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was so good. So my other reading kind of literally took the back burner.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah. The reason why I bring that book up is, it's the Japanese art of happy money.
Okay.
And the entire theme, and he interviews some of the richest people in Japan, and the entire theme is boiled down to one phrase: arigato in, arigato out. And it means to thank your money as it comes in, and to thank your money as it goes out. And so as you were saying that, like, the ability to be grateful when you're tapping your card, that's a piece of the puzzle that oftentimes we forget, because we get so excited when we see a deposit and money coming in and revenue goals, and all of that gets you jazzed. But we've got to have that same jazz for, like, I have the money that I can buy this thing for my house. I can pay for my cell phone bill to call the people that I love and to use it to run my business and all this. And so I love that you said that, because it's just a huge piece of that energy flow. And we've got to be grateful on both ends, the in and the out.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier the law of attraction. The energy that you put out is the energy you lack of words. Hold on, let's try this again. The energy you put out is the energy that comes back in. So when you are putting out a fearful tapping your card, you're gonna bring back a tear. Oh my gosh, fearful. My words, my brain goes a lot faster than I can actually get it out. So it's so much fun. I blend so many words together. I've been doing it all morning. It's been so good.
Okay, so question for you.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to actually be able to flip that switch, to go from the fearful tapping to the like, oh, I've got gratitude behind this? Were you able to do it fairly quickly, or you were? Okay.
I made the decision that I was no longer going to be scared tapping my card. And it's, everything we do is a level of self-awareness, right? So it's bringing that awareness to how you're feeling in that moment. And if you're noticing that fear is your tapping, well, you have the ability right then and there to shift it. So being aware of how I was feeling, and as I would tap, I'd say something positive.
That's good. That's good. The ability to just make that declaration and move. I think not everybody's able to flip the switch like that, but even if you can get that like reminder, of like, oh, fear, oh, hold on, I want to be able, just to even give yourself that moment to pause and then reframe.
It's that big level of self-awareness and looking at where you're at, what your thought process is, where is your mind taking you, because we can spiral downward so quickly. Like in a heartbeat, someone can say something and it still triggers me. But I now have that level of self-awareness where I can bring myself back. I can look at the positives. When we look at the positives, we get to create more positives. So being able to shift that mindset of, even when bills come in, is such a big piece, because, we can contract and, oh shit, I've got to pay this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill, and I only have this much coming in. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? Okay, I get electricity to have lights on. I get a roof over my head. I get heat. I get water. And I have done this on my own for 2 years. Go fucking me, because there are people who are still living at home, not sure what to do and how to do it. I could have gone back and had to live with my mom when I left, but I didn't. And now I'm doing this on my own. Like, acknowledging where you are at is such a big piece, and something I always have to step into, and I can bring this up because it was recent and it's something I had to really step back and shift my perspective on. My dog is diabetic. Her insulin in May was $43 a bottle. She goes through 2 bottles a month. Last month, actually it was like May, June, July it went up to $54 a bottle or something like that. But by August it's $65 a bottle. And I caught myself in that mindset of, what the actual fuck? Because as a single mom who is doing it on my own, my dog is now costing me a minimum of $130 a month. Like, minimum. That doesn't include the needles. That doesn't include her food.
Yeah.
And I got caught up for a moment in that fear of how am I gonna do this?
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going up in price. Groceries are astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how am I gonna do this? And I paused. I caught what I was saying, and I'm like, my dog is still alive.
Yeah.
I get to keep her alive and keep her going for as long as possible.
Mm. And what a gift.
Yes.
I'm in the midst of trying to eliminate the word expensive from my vocabulary. It became this like, oh, I'm not worthy of that thing because it's too expensive. And we know that expenses is relative. That's a relative term for everybody, right? What's expensive to one person could be just like pocket
change.
Yeah. For another person. And so trying to remove that, it's been interesting how often now I hear it and I catch myself and change what I'm saying, but trying to remove that has been a fun little I guess experiment. But it's changed. It's helping me reframe. It's helping me reframe because I don't want everything to just, well, that's too expensive. I can't buy that. That's too, it's like, I just don't want that like sticking all over me. So
because it is like such a negative energy piece, right? Like it brings you down here. Whereas if you can reframe it, I'm kind of the same way actually when it comes to the kids. I love my daughter so much, but every time we go out, she wants something, and she wants something, and she wants something, and she wants clothes. I'm like, child, every time I go out, I'm buying you something. Like, just for once, let's pause. I don't want to say I can't afford it because I don't want that energy being in, not only what I'm saying, but how she's looking at things. And, starting now with all of like the conditioning that we grow up with around money, I don't want that to rub off onto her. So I'm being very, very mindful of what I say to her. But my child, stop being a spoiled little brat. You don't need everything every single day. Like, without saying it like that and being mean, it's so frustrating because we went out yesterday and we didn't plan on going out. And she wants this. I'm like, okay, this is what we came here for. This is all we're going to get today. I was here yesterday. I was here the day before. We don't need anything else. It's a want. It's not a need. And you get something, you get candy every time we go out. And yesterday, as we're leaving, she's like, see, I was so good. I didn't say I want this and I want this and I want this. I'm like, yes, child. It was very nice of you. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing your efforts.
Yeah. Because it's so hard to say. I'm like, I don't want to sit there and say to her, I can't afford this.
Right.
Because, sometimes it's not that I can't. But at the same time, knowing all of these little things add up, right? Yeah. And then it can become a point where you can't afford this. So it's such a mindful process. And it's saying something is so expensive is something I catch myself saying, but trying not to say. Even out last week doing groceries, I think it was last week anyways, with my middle child, we were looking at, and he's the math whiz. So like math is not my strong suit whatsoever. You ask me a math question, I will pull out my phone and use the calculator. And we're comparing, I think it was Gushers. We were comparing. And it was so good, but he's doing the math in his head to see what is a better deal because there were 3 boxes for $9 or a box of, I think, 16 for $6. But it's learning those ways. I'm like, dude, it's not that this is too expensive, but this is still a better deal, and this is what we're gonna look at.
I love that you're like, okay, I've got this. Hold on. Like, let me do the math for you, Mom. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would love if you wouldn't mind to bring this into tipping culture, because that I have seen people get pretty heated about, and America, like we are tipping culture mania. In Europe, not so much. I think that's lovely, but you know, here we are and just have to deal with it. So when I think about the tipping culture and not bringing negative energy into that, do you have thoughts around that? Do you have ways that you're handling that? Is there any go-tos that you have?
I very much judge you based on your service. And if you did a shit job, I will tip you the minimum.
Okay. Okay.
But if you did a good job, I mean, I don't know. So in Canada, it gives you like the options on the screen. I don't know if it's
Same.
the same in the States.
Yep, same.
Yeah. So I think it starts at 15%, 15, 20, 25 are usually the options. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've had to tip anyone. But if you do a shit job, you get the bare minimum of 15%. If you did a great job, and I liked when I go get my nails done, I will always tip $5 or $10 on top of my service, because they are like, time is money at the same time, right? They are quick, an hour, and I'm in and out. My nails are amazing. My daughter is 8 years old. This place that I go to is so good. She's had her nails done since before school started. So we're going on what, a month now? 3 weeks at least, or we're the 4th week in. Her nails haven't chipped yet.
That is good.
Yeah. So I have no problem tipping them an extra $10.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like baristas, right? Like before you didn't tip baristas. Now that's a thing, like at Subway. You don't. So, and then like at Subway for people who make your sandwiches, before you didn't tip them, but now that's something that they advertise, right? Like you can make a amount of dollars per hour plus tips.
Yeah.
And
I don't tip them either.
So people have to kind of take a stand on where I go the opposite direction. I worked in the service industry, and so I'm like tipping every, person that's available to tip, but I do find myself catching, like, if I get annoyed in that moment, where it's like, oh, they're asking me for a tip, and then I'm like, okay, but it's really just a decision I make.
Yeah.
Yes or no, right? It's not to allow that option is there.
Yeah.
For that to like flare up something. I'm like, okay, Melissa, it's just an option that's there. Like, I've got to not let that be what irritates me.
Coffee and things like that, I don't really like. I don't eat out at all, so for me, like, a sub place wouldn't happen. Starbucks I love Starbucks and I love going there. I don't tip them. To me, that's their, I get it. Yes, that's their job. But like when I worked in a forward-facing sales business, I was never tipped.
Yeah.
And I got paid minimum wage plus commission, and it was actually less than minimum wage unless you didn't hit your commissions. There was no tipping, and I was getting yelled at every single day by disgruntled people thinking I am the reason their stuff is not working, and I'm like, hold up. So I do look at it like, if I go out to a restaurant to eat, 100%, I will leave a tip.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't.
Yeah. It's just very fascinating how quick it can irritate us. And so I just want to kind of put that out there, as long as we're talking about money is energy. But I love that we can both say, like, we just get to decide.
Yeah.
We just get to decide, and it doesn't have to be an emotional,
No. It's a decision that you get to make, and this is where, again, that level of self-awareness of how does it make you feel?
Yeah.
And then acknowledging there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. It's okay, well, I feel this way about this, so I'm not going to do it. Whereas you feel a different way about it, you are going to do it. And again, it's not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just how we feel. And what it's allowing us to feel on the other side. So if you are feeling something towards giving that tip, well, why? Why are you feeling something towards it? What is it making you feel? And really diving in and questioning those pieces that a lot of people don't want to dive in and question.
Yes. Yes. This is the good stuff because, I mean, money in and of itself, the emotions that it can flare, guilt, shame, embarrassment, like all these emotions that that get attached to money, right, those are indicators for us to be like, okay, we need to process through why and what and how we can approach it.
And shift that relationship. How do we make that relationship a stronger relationship? And I will question that all the time. And I will ask, this morning I asked the question because as someone who leads from my heart in my business, I am not monetizing this show. And I had it asked to me yesterday, well, you're putting so many hours into it. Why aren't you making money from it somehow? And I was like, oh my God. And you start looking at things from that different perspective, like, okay, I am, and I'm reaching people. How can I now, what can I create to support the people who come on the show? And it's building that different relationship, looking at things from a different point of view, feeling, part of me feels guilty, but at the same time, I'm putting hours into this. So all of the pieces come into play, and it's looking at those deeper pieces. Why do I feel guilty for adding products onto the show, adding merchandise, and going deeper?
Yeah, and exactly. Why the guilt attached to that, and to even have, someone asked you that question, right? You said somebody else brought that question to you. I think the fact that, I mean, I don't know who that person was in relationship to you, but I think the fact that we can have people in our lives that it's safe to have that dialogue around money, like that is so key, because obviously we're so in it that to be able to have somebody from the outside to say, hey, oh yeah, great, let's have the discussion, because not everybody is a safe person to talk money with, and having those people in your corner it's a crucial conversation to continue.
And I love that I just threw this example out there. It only happened yesterday, but for me, this show is raw, honest, vulnerable. Like, we're sharing all the things. You guys, this is the real shit that goes on behind the scenes and the conversations that are being had. And this was the conversation. And I still feel guilty. I'm like, this show is a free show. It's to bring awareness to so many different topics, open up these conversations. So I feel guilty. I'm like, the show is always going to stay free. Because at first it was, how can we make the show paid? I'm like, well, that's not the purpose of my show. But now it's looking at, I'm going to create a journal and some other pieces that get to go alongside all of these things that we are talking about. So it's cool how you can ask the questions and open up to pieces coming through, ways that money gets to start coming through, but in a way that feels good. So I don't feel guilty because I'm not charging you to come watch the show. I will never do that. But as we are growing, I get to do these little things that feel good for me and support you.
This reminds me of a conversation that I had with somebody that I luckily get to talk money with quite often. And she made the comment of, if you get like, every time someone tries to sell something to you, that says something about your ability to sell. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, like my mind just like cracked wide open, because I would get like, you end up on somebody's newsletter and they're selling, and I'm like, enough with all these sales emails. Yeah. And then I'm like, they're running a business. What do I expect them to do? To just like hand off all these things for free, and then I just get to reap all the benefits? And so it was just it changed how I approach selling and how I look at that. I'm like, right, yes, it was something that was a me issue. So that was interesting.
It's funny because I'm the same way, and I'm like, oh my, yesterday I'm like, I am fucking done being sold to today. Like, I have had enough of it. And I'm like, wait a second, I have a business, I am selling. Do my people feel the same way? Like, I mean, I suck at selling. I forget to sell my own stuff, and I laugh because this is part of the conversation yesterday. I have 10 plus years in sales, and I hate selling my own stuff. Give me your stuff. I'll gladly tell you exactly what you need to do to sell it and get the money coming in. But my own stuff, it feels like I feel icky sometimes, and it's doing that deeper work, right? To bring up those pieces and look at, okay, well, yeah, yesterday I put my phone down. I was done. I was just done. Like, we need to pause. We need to look at everything. And then this morning I was up first thing and diving into it. I've written out 3 or 4 pages, planned so many things, but it's being able to recognize those pieces and, you know, what makes you feel icky and why does it make you feel icky?
Yeah.
And how can you shift that? Because in the end, we are still, you know, for most of my followers, we're real women growing real businesses, right? Like we have real lives behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's all of these pieces that are coming together.
All of the pieces that are coming together that we get to learn and grow and adapt and change. And just the evolution of being a business owner is wild and fun at the same time.
It's wild and fun at the same time. I love that. That's what I was thinking yesterday. Like there's literally 2 different mindsets when it comes to growing your business, because you have to look at both pieces and they do merge together, especially when you are the face of your brand.
Yes.
It's an all-in-one. And looking at your thoughts around money, how I love that, how you are being sold to, what does that make you feel like? Because that's a huge piece right there. But you know, how do you feel when you tap your card? What is the energy that you are putting out?
Yeah. Before we wrap, I was going to share 3 of my favorite money mindset books. Do you
go for it?
Cool. Okay, so first up, have you The Soul of Money? Is this backwards? Is this backwards or is it forwards?
It's backwards, but it's okay.
Shoot. Okay. Well, The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist, and she just talks about why money was created and how it replaced the barter system and how it was supposed to make a more equitable society, and just kind of like getting back to like the root of like what money is and how it came into being. So love that one. Get Rich, Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. And it just has like endless exercises to try. And she just talks about we all look at money mindset kind of from like a little bit of a different lens. And so it's just got like something in it for everybody, which I love. And then We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers.
Okay.
And the way she comes at, okay, like this is the abundance mindset and this is the broke ass mindset. Let's like take a look at, in this moment, are you having an abundance mindset or a broke ass mindset? Like, let's evaluate ourselves. And there's no reason that we can't grow. It doesn't mean you're striving to be a millionaire, but there isn't a reason that we can't grow what it is that we're bringing in. So love those. And I think that they do a really good job of helping us shift and kind of step into a new identity when it comes to our money.
I love, and there's so many money books. So I have this one that's right here. And I love that you bring the books out, because I've barely got into it, and I've had it since it came out. But you know, I'm actually not even halfway through the book, and I've had it since it came out. But then I get sidetracked. But there's so many different pieces, and I feel like, you know, Amanda's Way isn't something that I totally resonated with, but pieces of it, and, you know, having other books and being able to bring all of them together and take what you need from those books and leave what doesn't serve you is the best way to really dive in.
Yes. Hands down, that's just it. It's nothing's gospel, right? But what feels good, use it, and then keep going.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I've absolutely loved this conversation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who joined in on today's episode of the show. If you have any questions or comments or anything you want to say, drop it below. If you are catching this live and you have something you want to say, drop it in. If you're catching the replay, drop it in. We will respond to your comments. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. So great to be here. I'm glad we got to have the conversation.
Me too. Thanks, guys, and I will see you guys back here on Friday for our next episode.